Do not act as if you were going to live for 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Friends and grasshoppers, this is the Formless Podcast, episode 115, with Tyler the Superhuman and me, Dustin.
Good morning.
Morning. I shared an episode of the Jocko podcast with you this week.
You did.
With, his name's Ryan Halliday. Halliday. Yeah, he is a pretty interesting cat. He's fascinated with the Stoics, and that was a Stoic quote today. So wow. I kind of got back on that kick of just checking stuff out by Marcus Aurelius, and not a bad book.
See, I was listening to the podcast yesterday, and Jocko and Ryan were talking about that book.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read it?
I have it.
I have
a copy here. Yeah. Kind
of skipped around.
I skip around. It's interesting because that was never like meant for publication. He wrote that. That was his like journal, like kind of giving himself pep talks. It sounds like. And the copy I have is like, it reads like old Bible verse. So there's lots of they and thou and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a dry read, you know, and but it's good nonetheless. But it's not. I think it's a cool book to have just to like pick up and browse through it every once in a while and read. Like you can totally read the whole thing cover to cover, but like I really find it neat to just pick it up once in a while and read a couple pages or just read a couple of lines out of it, and it hits you some ways. Like this one today, that one hit me, and I was like, yeah, like we're all on a timeline here, and that timeline is completely out of our control, and like get to moving, you know? So, but yeah, you, definitely it's well worth, you can find them at Barnes and Noble for like $10. It's definitely worth, getting a copy if you don't have it.
I remember you talking about that before, and how he wrote it just for himself.
Yeah.
And somehow
it was his daily like journal kind of thing.
And somehow it got leaked out, or what happened?
Like,
somebody found it.
He passed away, and then somebody was like, "Oh, hey, check this out. This is really good." You know.
That was interesting listening to that podcast, and that's definitely a book. As I was listening to the podcast, I was like, I would like to pick one of those up and just kind of like go through it.
The interesting thing, I didn't know about him very much. I mean, I follow him on social media, Ryan Halliday, and I dig his Stoic philosophy quotes and things like that. And he always like kind of breaks them down. If you watch any of his stuff on Instagram or YouTube, and he does like he does the Daily Stoic post. I think that's the name of his Instagram page. But he always has like a really thought-provoking thing in there. It's pretty interesting. But his story, like he's written a whole bunch of books, and he worked for American Apparel, and like it is a very interesting like he was a marketing manager at 19 for this major, massive corporation before it crashed. And he was along the ride as it was crashing, and like just kind of looking around, like going, "This is a, this is a show." It was pretty wild, pretty wild stuff. But
anyways, that was a good podcast, and I didn't finish it all the way, but I got like an hour and a half, 2 hours in. Yeah. It was like a 4.5 hour.
It was dude, those are marathons. He has marathon podcasts, Jocko, for sure. I like the whole process of him going through the books and like like, what did you, and then they talk about it. Like, he doesn't read the whole book. He goes through little bits and pieces of it, and then they kind of go more in depth. It's kind of cool. But what are we talking about today?
We're talking about what is the art in martial arts.
Yeah. Do you have a definition of art?
So I got my laptop here, and I got on Merriam-Webster dictionary. I would consider this a reliable source of information.
They ought,
right?
They
we can agree.
Yeah, they should be at this point in the game.
So art, noun. Let's define art. So what is the art in martial art? So let's define art according to Merriam-Webster is skill acquired by experience, study, or observation. A branch of learning. An occupation requiring knowledge or skill. The conscious use of skill and creative imagination, especially in the production of aesthetic objects. And an archaic definition is a skillful plan or the quality or state of being artful. And then the sixth definition is decorative or illustrative elements in printed matter. Now, I think in the course of like what we're talking about, the art in martial arts, I would say there's in anything you can have just like the technical the aspect of it. Yeah. Like this is how you punch, and you can just do it in a very technical way, like almost like a scientific way. And I think that would work, right? That would still qualify as a martial art. But I think putting the art in the martial art is like the flair of everything, the blending of it, the
creative ways that it happens.
Like you would flow from like striking with your right hand, and then as your right hand is coming back, your left hand is throwing the next one, and they're just flowing in like boom, boom, and the way it's like a dance almost, like between techniques.
Yeah.
And
I see that.
You can really see it like when somebody rides a horse and really well. Somebody who's been on a horse for a long time, either with that specific horse for a while or has ridden a bunch of horses and just can jump on one.
Knows how to ride a horse.
I
don't know how to ride a horse. I've been on one in my entire life.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not a big horse guy. But what's funny to me is like I could see if somebody rides a horse and like go, okay, that guy knows how to ride a horse. They're comfortable in it and stuff. And so like when I watch movies or TV and see like horses, I always like watch the people riding. Like my favorite are westerns. When somebody doesn't know how to ride a horse and they're all stiff and like bouncing around, you're like, yeah, that guy. It definitely ruins the suspension of disbelief for me. But
that's what I'm talking about.
It's fun.
They're physically riding the horse, right? They're doing everything. The horse listens to what they're doing, but there's no flow between the.
It's
rough.
Rough, yeah.
It's rough, and so I think there's like the technical aspect of you learn like these moves, and you could just know them. But I think you could learn them almost robotically, and then the art comes in. It's almost like a fine line when the art comes in. It's real. It's like magical. It's like it's you can watch a beginner throw a front kick head, right? Just a straight up boom front kick.
Yeah.
And then you can watch like a black belt who's been practicing for 20 years, throw a front kick.
Crisp.
And it's crisp, clean, and it's just smooth. And it's I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, it's like, wow, okay, that's their art.
I was like, I had this whole like thing planned in my head, and when you read that definition of art, it kind of screwed with me a little bit because like
what's yours?
Well, I don't know now. I'm confused because like art to me is something that is like it's a broad term, right? If I see somebody doing something skillfully, that's artistic,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, like there's stuff like art is subjective, right? Like we can look at the same set of paintings and you can go, oh, I like this one. And I'll be like, I hate that one.
Right.
Or, art is subjective. Movies, music, paintings, whatever you think. I think if I see somebody doing something skillful, something that they've practiced and honed, that's the art. Like the dedication, the work, the effort put into something. I think that is like to me that's like the art. Seeing the having the wherewithal to keep going. Like there's a magic in that.
Totally.
But on the same token, like a Jackson Pollock painting. Do you know who that is?
I do.
They basically like threw paint at a canvas. It's amazing. It's pretty neat. He lived in Chico for a while.
I didn't know that.
Side note.
About an hour south of us.
Yeah, but it's like that's art. Obviously his paintings sold for millions of dollars. That's art. Like you really, you can like it or not like it, but somebody thought it was beautiful enough to like throw down some serious cash for it. But the like he had to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a process. He wasn't just like spilling paint on a canvas.
No.
There was like this whole process of like him trying different methods and different ways of doing it and different, like, I don't know if you'd call it technique, but he went through a process. And I think that to me is pretty neat.
Yeah.
There's stories about, like, to bring it to movies. He directed The Shining.
Stanley Kubrick, like
making the actors do take after take until they were like, basically he made Shelley Duvall in The Shining go crazy, just forcing her to do it over and over and over again.
Some 100 and some takes for some shot.
Like for one shot. Yeah, one shot.
She was literally crying.
Yeah, in hysterics. I think there's a certain art there. There's a certain, like, we're going to push this rock up the hill until forever.
It's for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain magic in that. But it's funny. I was looking up different things, like, you pulled that up on Merriam-Webster, excuse me, and I Googled what is art. I used a little AI, asked it what art was and stuff. And for martial arts, it's funny. I got a couple of different definitions. For martial arts, martial is the war side of things, right? The military or that application. But the art side, it says like how you control space, time, and energy. And I thought that was an interesting thought because I'm like, we talk about almost all of those things in class, right? We want time, space, all of that stuff. Not energy, sometimes, but not so much. I think of the energy portion as like your gas tank.
Yes, like, that's what I think of too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into like some of the more foo-foo stuff there. But the
like the chi
and all of that. Yeah. But like you look at like boxing or UFC, that sort of stuff, and some of those guys are incredibly talented and incredibly like. They're very technical, but they're also like they have this flow to them, like you were talking about earlier. And I think that is where the art is.
Is
like
in that intersection of
the technique and the flow and the ability to like get off combinations and move around almost dance, like that ability to get in and get shots off and then come back out, or like Conor McGregor had that for a little bit, where he was like kind of hopping in, hopping out, and then bang, that left hand coming around. There was a certain flow to that, a certain art that was like he was doing the hit and then getting out before they could reply. There's certain like things there that I'm just like, that to me, that's the art, right? Like I can do something and you can't have a response to it on my time. Like that's art, right? Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
But then you get like a guy like George Foreman or Chuck Liddell, who are just these big humans who just hit people really freaking hard. And I think that there's a certain art to that as well. Like it's impressive. It's visually stunning. Like you want to watch it. You don't want to be the other guy, obviously, but they can demonstrate tremendous power. I think that there's a certain art to that as well, just to be the devil's advocate.
That's true. You're saying like a strictly high level of technical skill.
Well,
can be its own art in itself.
Yeah. But also there's a reason why people go to see like George Foreman punch somebody's brains in. Right? Like he hits hard.
Yeah.
Or he did, when he was alive in his heyday. I just watched, like before you got here while I was waiting, I watched a highlight reel of George Foreman's, some of his knockouts. And he was like putting people to sleep in a different dimension. And it was effortless. Like it didn't look like nothing, but the dude hit the canvas.
And he was out.
Yeah, it was like good night, Loretta.
Well, that's definitely ties in with what Bruce Lee said in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. He said the height of any art is in its simplicity.
Yeah.
And so you just said that about George Foreman. He just made it look so simple and effortless.
It wasn't anything super flashy. It was like, I'm just going to stand here and throw punches at you, but they're going to hurt, and it super simple stuff. It was basic fundamental techniques, nothing super fancy or flashy. Not like, you can name just about anybody else that's a professional boxer and they're all flashy or they had something about them that was different. George Foreman wasn't special in that respect, where he was like dancing around the ring or fancy in any way. He was just throwing punches, and really didn't even dance that, he didn't move around the ring. He wasn't known for that kind of thing. He was known for like, just, we're going to stand toe to toe and see who lasts the longest, And that worked with varying degrees of success. But it's still, at least in my mind, it's still an art.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's still some degree of artistic talent there. There's still something about it.
He probably spent so much time punching people that it just became simple to him. That was just
but like the act of it in itself, like it's still in the same realm, right? We're still it's like Leonardo da Vinci painting versus Jackson Pollock, right? Leonardo da Vinci did realism. He painted people. He did all of that sort of stuff. Jackson Pollock, you could look at that and go, I don't know what it is. It's still cool. It's still, people pay millions of dollars for it. It's still a neat painting, but what is it? Does it look like anything? No, it looks like he spilled a bunch of paint on the canvas. You can look at a Leonardo da Vinci painting like The Last Supper or the Mona Lisa, and you know what that is, right? That's a person sitting in a pose, What's Jackson Pollock painting? I don't know. Is it a car? Is it a plate of spaghetti? What is it? Still art. Still art. It's just two different types of art, right?
That's actually a really good analogy.
Okay. You like that?
I do.
Good. Awesome.
I'm going to look up some of these paintings you're talking about, Jackson Pollock.
Oh, okay. Has it been a while?
It's been a while, yeah. Yeah, that literally looks like...
Somebody spilled or threw a bunch of paint at a canvas.
Yeah, I remember seeing this. I think I would go with Leonardo.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that's...
it's subjective.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. Anyways.
So that was kind of like the rabbit hole I went down this week. Like, what is that? What, obviously, we do martial arts and it's important to us, but I tell people I do martial arts, but like, do I call myself a martial artist? Yeah, sure.
Whoops. Beeping here.
And I don't think that there's like any kind of barrier of entry there.
No.
I think that's kind of open to everyone. But the cool thing about it is like you can go in so many different avenues. Just like the paintings we were talking about. Like you could go and become a become a Leonardo da Vinci. Or you could be a Jackson Pollock.
But it's still a painter, you're still an artist.
You're still an artist. You could be a Sugar Ray Leonard, or you could be a Tank Abbott. Both of them wildly different figures. Martial artists, but completely different spectrums. Whereas Tank Abbott was literally a tank and would stand in front of people and smash them and get smashed. And Sugar Ray Leonard's dancing around the ring like Muhammad Ali, not sting like a butterfly or float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Right.
Both of those are art, just, wildly different.
Wildly different. Yeah, it's kind of like Tai Chi. It's a martial art.
Yeah.
Versus
boxing.
Boxing versus Kempo versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus Krav Maga. They're all arts.
Mm-hmm. See, like I think of our style as not super flashy.
No, it's not.
It's pretty like fundamentally, we're just punching and kicking people. I think where it gets interesting is like using angles, using space, that sort of thing. That's where I find that the spice, the thing that makes people go, oh, interesting.
Like the very dynamic. I mean,
it is dynamic. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, in when you break it down, right? So you have when you're the martial artist, you can either move forward or backward. You can move you can step to your right side, you can step to your left side, or you can move forward and right a little bit, forward and left, back and left a little bit, or back and right. Right? So that's essentially the only directions you can go. We can't fly. You can't go straight up, right?
Yeah.
You can drop down. You can drop down on your, bend your knees and get a lower angle and punch straight at their groin, or get down, get at a lower angle and punch up at their head if you can reach that high. Probably their belly or something, body.
Yeah.
But... And then it's the blending of those two that it's like, okay, where am I moving? Or sometimes you might fake with your body and go, I'm going right. And then, my left hand's
it's coming around.
Yeah. Like you were talking, some of those other fighters. But it's knowing all those different aspects, those different, one, angles, but two, what direction can you move, and then blending those two together. It's like the meeting and the that's where it comes. That's where the art comes in my opinion.
I think that's a good one. I like that. See, this is why we're here together, because I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so you break it down. You can break it down into its individual technique, whereas, like, I'm sure Leonardo da Vinci had his... He could be like, well, if you want to paint the sky, this is what you need to do. You need to first draw a line to give the horizon an outline. Like, where's the horizon at, right? And that's the point that separates the mountains from the sky, right? And that's, or whatever, or the flat plains from the sky. And so you had all those technical definitions of like, okay, this is what you have to do. And like I just said right now, there's only so many ways you can step, right? You can only move. And in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, I think it was, or some other book I read recently on martial arts, they were like, these are the only directions you can move. So it puts like limits on like, it defines the directions you can go. And it kind of says, well, these are your limits, right? And so like I said, we can't fly. So that just X-nay that out. We're not some Marvel superhero that knows how to, we're not Superman.
Yeah.
DC, but yeah, and so knowing the limits of what you can and cannot do, then from there you can kind of shape it down, and then okay, well, I can step to my right, and also while I'm stepping to my right, drop down to my knees and punch up from this angle, and that's where the art comes in, I think.
Nice.
I mean, would you agree? Like,
I see.
Blending of techniques.
I like that.
And then
idea.
It's effortless.
I didn't think about that. I was just a one-trick pony, but I like that. No, my thought was like, okay, well, where's the art in this? Was like, not necessarily that I can punch and kick, but how I do the punching and kicking.
Yeah.
But I didn't relate any of that to movement.
Oh, like how? Well,
like you just described, like you put it in a box, and we're like, okay, well, this is what I can do here in this space. I can move these directions. I can move one direction and hit from another direction. I can do all. I can drop down. I can hit up. I can blah blah blah. That's cool. I like that. I like that better than I liked my own idea.
Well, I think the way that. Yeah, like at least my mind looks at it is my mind, for whatever reason, always looks at something and says, what are the minimum and maximum of this whatever, or what are the limits? So in the same way you buy a gun and you're like, well, okay, this gun can shoot at point blank range and it can go all the way out to effectively 600 meters or 600 yards, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's how far it can go. Then I'm like, okay, well, that's the space I have to work in right there, right?
Yeah.
You put the beginning and ending limits, and then you're like,
you got
okay,
all this space in the middle is
and you
yours.
got all the space in the middle to work with. But if I see a deer at a long ways away and I pull out the rangefinder and click and see, oh, that buck is 900 meters away, what are you going to do?
We got to figure something out.
Yeah, you got to figure something out. So either A, you can be like, well, the effective limits of my rifle that I have is 600 meters. That buck's at 900 meters, so I can do a Hail Mary shot. Or I've got to get in closer, at least another 300 meters, just to be at the very top range of my rifle.
Just to have a chance.
You probably want to get as close as you can, right? Better to take a closer shot than a farther shot. But so that's an example of finding all your limits. So whereas you're dancing around like you're a martial artist and you're dancing around your opponent, well, there's only so many directions you can go, right? I can't go straight up. I can't fly. I can jump up but I'm going to come back down. So that gives me a split second to punch as I'm coming down, or punch as I'm going up, or punch as I'm going up and when I'm coming down, right? Like,
yeah.
So then I start with, okay, well, I can, if you're in the middle of a clock, right? You have a wall clock that has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And you put yourself in the center. Well, I can either move forward 12 o'clock. I can only move back or I can move back at 6 o'clock, or I can move to the 3 o'clock or to the 9 o'clock, those directions, or I can move to the 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can move to the 10, 11 o'clock. I can move to the 4 or the 5, and I can move to the 6 or the 7. And so like you break it down, right? Those are the only directions you can go. And so like when you know the limits of something, then it's almost like the thing in its completeness. Those are the limits those are the only directions you can go. Then you can operate within those limits and know that's where then the blending comes in, which hence is then, in my opinion, the art.
That's cool.
I don't know if that made sense.
No, that
was
made
like
total sense to me. That made sense.
Long-winded.
That was good, though. That was good. I visualized the clock and the different directions. I mean, you think about like a car, right? Like a car can only go forwards and backwards. It can't go sideways. We don't have those cars yet. That just immediately you're in the driver's seat and the car's like yes, you can turn the wheel, but you're still going to go forward a little bit as you turn to the right or turn to the left. But it's not like the wheels just go and then the car just like goes like 90
this.
degrees.
Yeah, 90 degrees while you're still facing forwards. We don't have that ability yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that's another way to think about it, is like cars go front and back. Same thing with most animals, they don't sidestep in a way that like, how like in a video game, a third person video game or a first person video game, you can just strafe left or right.
Yeah.
Like animals don't do that. And really, to a certain extent, we don't so much do that. You can train that way, but it takes a lot of training to do that. But like a cat doesn't sidestep, a dog doesn't sidestep. You could probably train them to do it, but it wouldn't be very good. It wouldn't be fast. Like that's just not their natural direction. So that's another way of looking at the limits of something. And so when I try to find the art in things, I'm always looking at the limits.
What's the max? What's the min?
Yeah. Where's our boundaries?
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's cool. I just didn't even think about that. I mean, I'm sure eventually I would have come to that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I was thinking about timing.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, okay, if I'm throwing combinations, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Right? That slight hesitation, that slight like, that stutter stop kind of thing. I like doing that stuff. I like playing with those. That's art to me. That's an aspect of it.
That's an aspect.
But I like...
That's playing with the time.
Yes.
And the limits of that would be, okay, you throw your first punch, that's the beginning of it. And then at the end, like if you waited 10 minutes to throw your third punch, it's too late. So you have to say, well, that's too late. I have to, within the first punch and that third punch, I've got to throw them within a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And again, finding the limits of that.
No, that's cool.
Keep going.
That's one of the things that I like to play around with. Space movement, like not necessarily movement, but like sidestepping that whole like, oh, I'm here in front of you, but now I'm off to the side, that kind of thing. But that goes with what you were talking about, the directions and stuff.
So you like to,
but the timing thing, that to me, that's neat. I like to play with those things. Rhythms, patterns, high, low, left, right, that kind of thing.
Well, it's the blend. Again, that's what we said at the beginning of this podcast. It's the blending of all those elements. Yeah. Is that you're like, well, I want to take my punch and I want to punch I could punch when I'm stepping towards my target, or I want to punch when I'm stepping to my right, or even as I'm stepping back and I could still punch. And so it's blending that, well, which direction am I going and where am I punching and with what kind of punch?
So to come off of that, I think it's it's not necessarily one thing. I think it's the blending of different. It's blending like technique and movement, or patterns and timing and space, controlling the space and movement. Like I think it can be just one thing, but I think also that like the real fancy, like the thing that makes people go wow is when you start combining different elements there, different things. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take movement with timing, or the pace with combinations, or space and all, just taking like a grab bag. Okay, I'll take a little of this, take a little of that, throw these things together and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff.
It's like Bob Ross taking his paintbrush. Remember Bob Ross?
Yeah, I remember Bob Ross.
And taking his paintbrush and like, yeah, you can wipe up and down, you can wipe left and right, but then he would also just like dab his paintbrush, dab it, and that's another way of like, and it's like using one thing in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was who knows how many other ways he would dab and brush and maybe flick paint. It's just like, and it's simple. It's simple, but
it's the simplicity of it, I think, is neat, but it's in the way it's done. Like, now I'm going to do it this way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm sure, like, you watched the PBS show that he had.
Yeah.
Okay. That was like a class. He was supposed to teach you how to paint that painting, right? Well, you could copy what he did with varying degrees of success, obviously. But the amount of time that he put in that, like, would probably boggle the minds of most people. Like, you're going to really dab that brush that many times? Like, I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like I'm sure, like most people, the reason why we don't have everybody on the planet in martial arts gyms is because when it comes down to what you have to practice, the fundamentals, people get bored. I had a class today I was teaching, and I was like, okay, we're going to work some fundamental stuff. And you can hear like this sigh through some people, just like, ugh. I'm like, well, that's what we're doing, because that's what you're going to use. When it comes down to it, 99% of the time, you're going to use those fundamentals.
Yeah.
The flashy stuff is cool. And unless you're filming a movie or very, very, very desperate, or have the 1 in a million chance of like, in this exact moment, this technique will work, most of the time you're going to be using fundamental stuff. So it's kind of foolish not to practice the fundamentals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, in a self-defense situation, you're going to throw those fundamental white belt level techniques.
Yeah, in a self-defense situation, I don't think I'm going to throw a spinning reverse.
Most likely not. It could happen. It has happened. It does happen. But most of the time, you're probably just keeping both feet on the ground, throwing those punches and kicks.
The simple kicks.
The simple ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, because you don't want to... It's the simple stuff that works.
Have you heard of cubism painting?
I have heard of it.
So it's basically blocks, painting little squares, little rectangles. And depending on the size, you make paintings that from a distance could look real, or you could have just big squares and rectangles on your canvas in different colors. Both painting the same shapes, both using the same colors, were just different sizes and meant to be looked at from different distances. Right? You've seen the ones where, like, up close, they're just a bunch of random squares, but then as you back away, it becomes a detailed painting of like a portrait.
I've seen that with pictures.
Yeah. Okay. You've seen pictures.
Like pictures, a collage of pictures.
Yeah. Same. It's the same. Like we're using one shape, but we're going to make wildly different things. We could both like. So one of the things that I really like about our group and our style is you teach like 10 people set 1 white belt stuff. You're going to get 10 different versions of that.
Yes.
Because we're not all built the same. Some people are going to be fast. Some people are going to be slow, lumbering. Some people are going to do it with they all do it with their own little piece of flair.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's that way. Like boxing's that way. Everyone's got their own kind of style, their own pizzazz or flair or their own, way of doing things. This feels comfortable to me. This is why I hold my hands this way, that kind of thing. And they all have varying degrees of success, but it's interesting to me. That's like, it didn't really occur to me until I started like teaching it and playing with it that way. And like, okay, I'm going to show this kid how to do this and then see how they do it. And you're like, yeah, it resembles what we just went over, but it's obviously your own thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's the art.
You think the art is, from what I'm hearing is like, you're saying the art is almost getting in touch with your most purest self and the way you express that to the world. Like meaning, like for example, a simple example would be like my handwriting is my handwriting and no one could replicate my handwriting, my signature, nothing. Nobody in the world could replicate that. I don't think.
Like your fingerprint.
That is your own. Well, but that's not so much a that's
not something you did.
You did that, yeah. Like your handwriting is something that's active and that you do, right? And
they look different. Like your signature doesn't look like my signature.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally different, and so in that way, the way you throw a front punch head or a front kick or whatever. Nobody else in the world could throw it just like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the macro level, it looks like your kick, but we're all moving differently. We have different body structures.
Yeah.
And so I like to think that, part of your art is like expressing
who you are,
the most purest form of who you are in something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. I like that. No, that's basically, I think, what I was trying to say. I dig it.
Another interesting thing that I heard too about art is so like you've got a canvas, right? Mm-hmm. Well, and then somebody's going to paint a painting on that canvas, like a Leonardo or Jackson Pollock or whoever. Well, there's borders to that canvas. There's, literally the canvas is like
only so big.
Yeah, it's a 2 foot by 2 foot or whatever they're painting on, 2 foot by 2 foot. And once you go off that, that's no longer going to be a piece of art that is moved, right? Like that, like any paint that spills off the canvas.
In the boundaries.
That's the boundaries is like the 4 by 4 or the 2 by 2.
Yeah.
And so that's
Playing with your boundaries.
Yeah.
Have you seen I saw it somewhere, probably on a social media site. Guy goes and buys paintings from like thrift shops for like dirt cheap, and then he adds stuff to it. So like he found a painting with a broken frame or a burnt frame.
Yeah.
And then he painted like some Star Wars scene on this landscape painting. And it had like a TIE fighter coming in shooting. And it was shot the burnt part of the frame of the painting. There's all sorts of them.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was just taking like these cheap, probably reproductions of, paintings and adding stuff to it. It was pretty cool. I saw it somewhere, maybe TikTok or something.
Huh.
But he had a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of them. Some of them were Star Wars. Some of them were just like random things in there. And it was cool. Like we have paintings at work and they're just like abstract paintings, but they're stuff you just kind of walk by and they're there for decoration and they look all right. But like nobody's studying them, right? It took one of those types of paintings and made people look at it. And you're like, oh, wow, what else did he add to this? Like, what else is going on in here? It's cool.
Oh, man. I like to think, too, of fly fishing. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have 2 fly fishing rods. And for whatever reason, I can't get into fly fishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have 2 fly rods that I bought. One is a lightweight, like number 5 for trout. And then I bought a number 8 for salmon fishing.
Okay.
And I still want to get into salmon fishing. But every time I take those fly rods out, I just can't get into it. I can't get it.
Really?
No, yeah. Then, and you see those guys that they're just,
it's beautiful.
It is. And I've taken I've taken a couple fly fishing lessons.
Oh, to like learn all of the maneuvers?
Yeah, to learn it. And I still can't get into it. But there's a whole art, and I remember the one guy he said, well, you got to hold your, whatever arm your fly rod is in, you got to hold it at a 90 degree, and you just rotate at the shoulder. It's all in the shoulder. He's like, this is where it's at. He's like, it's right here. And you could tell, like, he was like, just do this. It's in the shoulder. And for him, it was like simple, like, just like, dude, you just rotate at the shoulder and you're going to do this. And it's in your flyer. It's not in the elbow and it's not in the wrist.
Really?
At least not yet.
Okay.
And so, yeah, he's like, yeah, it's all on the shoulder. And you just keep hold your wrist straight and your fly rod. And what did he say? It was like a 10-2. He's like, just 10-2. So like, if this is a clock right here, he's like,
I've heard that 10
and 2. You hear it with driving with your hands on the steering wheel,
yeah.
10 and 2 or 3 and 9. But, and so when he would do it, we even went out, we met up.
Where did you go? Like, did you go to the river? Or?
No. So this guy, I met up with this guy. I met him through the hunting show I was doing, and was like, hey man, like take me out and let's I'll pay you for a fly fishing lesson. And we went, and the day we went on the fly fishing lesson, we went to, it was like his kid was like playing football or something. So we went to some high school and we were out on the grass on the green.
Oh, okay.
I want to say, and he's like, yeah, just come over here and I'll teach you for an hour or whatever. And it was very cloudy, very windy. And I was like, hey, his name is Steve. And I was like, hey Steve, is today a good day to do a fly fishing lesson? And he's like, he looked at me, he's like, it's perfect. He's like, I'm going to show you how technique actually will work in such a good way. And so it was windy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with fly fishing, the fly line that you're actually using is actually kind of weighted.
Yeah.
In a way. I don't know all the specifics behind it, but it's weighted. And so the line itself weighs something. And so yeah, it's windy, it's blustery, and 20 yards out from like where we are, he starts going through the basics and showing me, and then he goes and puts a hula hoop like 20 yards from us.
And he's like, hit the hula hoop.
He's like, I'm gonna land my fly right in the middle of that hula hoop, and I was like, all right, and it's windy. I mean, I'm talking and like
it'll catch the line, it'll catch the fly and blow it around.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it was like I was like. Learning fly fishing on this type of day.
Not ideal conditions.
Not ideal conditions. He's like, I'm going to show you how it cuts through. And he just whips it out and starts doing just rotating at the shoulder and throws it out there and boom, right in the hula hoop. And he was right. Even though it was very windy, that fly line and the fly cut through the wind, and he just put it exactly where he had wanted it.
Wow.
And I was like, this is clearly not his first time doing this. so yeah, I never forgot that lesson. And I look at other guys and I think there's other techniques where some guys and gals are like, oh, it's just all in rotating the shoulder. And then in some of them, I think it's they're utilizing some of the elbow and a little bit of the wrist,
Yeah,
and I think, they're
more
but I think that the way I was being taught just to learn is he just wanted it right at the elbow, and you could probably get like world class. I'm not at the elbow, the shoulder. Rotate at the shoulder. You could probably get world class by just rotating at the shoulder, right? You could probably, or get really good.
Yeah.
But like at some point you see what else you have available to you, and now the elbow's coming into play with the shoulder, with the wrist, and even to a certain extent the fingers. And now you're just able to blend all those things together and get that fly line and fly, and just to whip through and then go and lands. And just so graceful the way they could just lay their line down.
It's not splashing, it comes down super smooth.
It just lays down, and that's an art I'm like, wow, that's cool. And I take out my fly rod and I go practice, and about 10 minutes in, I'm bored. Just not something.
It just doesn't light you up.
No, it doesn't light me up. But that was something that looked so simple, that he made just look so simple. And so like you're talking those, the George Foreman's, the Conor McGregor, it just looks so simple.
It does, but people like it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Fly fishing thing, that got me. I have a fly rod too. I haven't gone fishing in years, but the difficulty of that, it's very frustrating to know, like, okay, right there's where I want the fly to go. How come I can't make it go there yet?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's all sorts of techniques of like flipping it, like spinning it clockwise or counterclockwise or forwards and backwards, and all sorts of different things you can do. But I've never heard of the keeping your elbow locked.
Shoulder.
But just rotating your shoulder.
Yeah, rotating at the shoulder, yeah. So that's what he taught me. Huh. So whatever, regardless of, and then when I go out there and practice myself, I'm like bending my elbow and wrist, and I'm trying to do it, and then I'm like, okay, he just said shoulder. And when I actually just do the shoulder, like I actually can
have more control,
have some sort of semblance of I look like I know what I'm doing when I'm just rotating at the shoulder. And so... But
see, I'd get wound up, and I'm wanting to go way out and exaggerate it, and that's wrong.
Well, I think that's wrong for the beginner. Like, yeah. I read in a book, or I talked to somebody, that one of like the world record holders, there's some really good fly fishing woman who was incredible at fly fishing, and she would actually do that and wind up and use her whole arm and her whole body and stretch her arm out, and she could get it out there some incredible distance. Yeah. And it was like some record fly fishing cast.
Huh. I didn't know that people kept track of that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, so that was like they were using their whole arm and their whole body. But that's getting to the maximum limit of like what you're
there's a couple of steps there that
to get to that.
To get to that.
And I always think in the terms of like, this goes back to something I've always thought, like, if I handed a fly rod to somebody who had never cast any type of fly rod or fishing pole, right? Somebody who had grew up, never touched a fishing pole, never touched a fly rod. If you handed it to them and said like, hey, figure this out on how to cast this, and this line is weighted. Like I tend to think somebody would actually become really good at it in their own right,
and not be technique correct.
Well, technique correct. They may or may not be technique correct, but they would just eventually learn how to get that out there.
Yeah.
In the same way that I'm like, well, if we dumped 10 people on a deserted island with food for 20 years and water for 20 years and everything they need for 20 years and said, hey, figure out how to fight.
They would come up with their own thing.
We would come back in 5 years, and I think they would have figured out on their own how to throw a front punch head to a really good degree.
Yeah.
Like, that's my opinion, just because there's only so many ways the human body can move. There's a limit. Our elbow only hinges. Our elbow does not go left or right at that. It just hinges up and down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you're only going to be able to do so many different things.
Your knee hinges that one way. Our head does not turn around and look at our behind. You just can't do that. It's just not physically possible. So I think that if you just said it like, hey, go, like what's amazing to me is like, people that have a hammer that are like in the middle of Africa will use a hammer the same way we use a hammer here.
Yeah.
And so and they'll use it in their own artistic way that they found out how to use a hammer that maybe we haven't found out how to use a hammer here. Like, if that makes sense. Like, so if we just dropped the hammer off in some village in Africa to some kid who'd never seen a hammer before, and we came back a year later, I bet that kid would have found some ways to use that hammer that we're like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
That was not what I intended.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to see how people adapt to things.
Adapting, yeah.
Yeah, the self-taught, like, oh, that's technique is not correct for that, but what you're doing is pretty awesome with it, right? Like, you show kids, like when you teach kids how to write, you show them how to hold a pen, and they always like grip it in this like ice pick grip first, until they get and then you always see like an outlier. I saw a gal holding a pen like this, and
I've seen that too.
Yeah, and you're like, what the heck? This is the way I like it. That's what's comfortable for me, and holding it between your two fingers and supported by your thumb. Like, that's goofy to me.
That's goofy.
But
they make it work.
You make it work. Yeah. Wasn't what was intended. Are you at your limit?
Yeah.
I thought you might be.
My phone ran out of storage.
Awesome. You know what? It's a good point. We're at a good stopping point anyway. So I think we exasperated that topic anyhow.
Yep.
It was a good one. It's fun. Let's wrap it up then. Friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you so find it in your repertoire or in your desires to reach out to us on social media, we'd appreciate it if you have those available to you. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. All found at The Formless Pod. We have a website called theformlesspod.com where we have merch and pictures of our ugly mugs on there, or at least my ugly mug and Tyler's breathtakingly handsome face. We're there, and we hope to see you there. If anything, if you have an idea, if you have a different theory on art, on martial arts, on fly fishing, reach out. Send us a DM on any of our social medias or on our email address, which is formlesspod@gmail.com. Have a wonderful evening.